You've heard about ambitious mice, sure, but none of them compare to Business Bennet. This dude's only 1 month old and he's already killing it in the business world, making deals left and right. He's not your typical squeaky rodent just like scurrying around looking for crumbs. He's running a whole operation and he actually has a lot of cheese. So he's not even worried about cheese anymore, and he's only 1 month old. He's running the most cutthroat cheese operation you've ever seen, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So Business Bennet is not like your typical mouse. Most of his siblings at this age were just scurrying around looking for cheese crumbs, chasing after rubber bands, or whatever toys they could find laying on the ground to drag into their mouse hole. But Business Bennet was already killing it in the business world when he was 1 week old, and now he's running a whole empire. So he's very successful. So he noticed one thing in the office, which is that humans dropped crumbs, a lot of crumbs, and no one was taking advantage of that. No one was even talking about it really. But Business Bennet wasn't interested in just scavenging a few pieces for himself. He wanted to run a whole operation and turn this into a business. So at 2 weeks old, he started his first business called Cheddar & Co. Consulting, and is focused on helping other mice become more efficient at gathering crumbs. And he put together a whole crew of mice to monitor the entire office. Carol handled accounting and got first dibs on some of the best crumbs. And then Doug was basically just running HR, and he made sure that the bagel seeds never went to waste. So Business Bennet built an empire for himself, and he ran it with an iron fist. And one day, Doug got into his head that he deserved a bigger share of the crumb profits, and he was bringing a lot of bagel seeds from HR because he did rig the microwave to drop extra crumbs, but he thought that he deserved more. And Business Bennet did not take this very well. So even though he looks like a charming little mouse, he is running it with an iron fist. He's running this operation with an iron fist. So he didn't take too kindly to Doug wanting some extra seeds, and he grabbed Doug by his tie, which was basically a string of yarn because he's so small, and yanked him into his office. If you can call his shoebox, like hole in the wall, an office, it's pretty small, but he said, "You think you're worth more than the rest of the mice? You don't get paid by how hard you work. You get paid by what I say you're worth." Whoa, Business Bennet. You're really mean to your employees, but I mean, I guess if Doug is trying to take more than his fair share, Business Bennet is really just holding down this whole operation. Business Bennet did not let him forget that he did this, and he actually kicked him out. Yeah, he fired Doug for this. He wanted to just make an example of him so that no one else would ever step out of line. Yeah, Business Bennet runs this whole operation like he's very strict. But that's how you have to do it if you want to be killing it in the business world at only 1 month old, I guess. For most mice, the fridge was just like out of reach, but breaking into it and turning this into part of his cheese operation was something Business Bennet really wanted to do. Bennet knew he couldn't just sneak into the fridge like some low-level mouse who doesn't really care about getting caught. So instead, he came up with a plan that would blow your mind. He called it Operation Swiss Takeover. He basically went up to the humans and said that he was part of the hygiene task force and he needed to clean the fridge, and they just let him right by. You would think that since he's only about 3 inches tall and he's just a tiny mouse wearing a suit, they wouldn't let him in, but they did let him in. Bennet approached the office manager, Susan, and now Susan was already on her third cup of coffee, and she probably wasn't even like paying attention to much. She was sort of just like having a bad day, not really focused on the hygiene task force guy, so she didn't care who was coming in. She was just not having a great day, so she said, "Sure, come on in, work on the fridge." Business Bennet didn't exactly know if she bought it, but she didn't say anything, so that's all he needed. He went in there, and he was hauling some of the best cheeses and snacks you'd ever seen. He was just taking everything out of the fridge. Basically, leftover pizza, people's lunches, just whatever was in the fridge. There was a good amount of cheese, and he did it like he owned the fridge because he basically did own the fridge now. Business Bennet didn't tolerate any slackers in general in his business. Larry one time got a little greedy and pocketed a piece of mozzarella from the fridge when they were hauling it back, and Bennet wasn't just a businessman. He was the kind of mouse who kept his operation real tight, as you guys know. So when he found out about this, he found out about Larry's little mozzarella heist, he did not just fire him. He made an example out of him, and he said, "Loyalty is worth more than cheese." Bennet told Larry this as he dragged him out of the operation and basically fired him just in front of everyone, just so that the other mice would not ever step out of line, not ever try to pocket some cheese. And everyone else bought it. They were just really respecting Business Bennet after this. And even though they did respect him, I think they feared him. I think they feared him more than they respected him. But I mean, that's what you got to do, I guess, if you want to be a top mouse, a top business mouse. I don't know if I mess with him that much because he's sort of like mean to his employees, but he does run a tight operation and he knows how to run a business. Business Bennet's only 1 month old, but he's real smart. Instead of running from Whiskers, the office cat, who, by the way, if you don't know Whiskers, Whiskers is a very dangerous cat who patrols the whole office and scares a lot of the mice, basically keeps them in their holes. Business Bennet would give Whiskers parts of a lot of the crumbs or even some of the best stuff they find from the fridge. He would give it right to Whiskers in exchange for Whiskers leaving them alone in their operation and basically just letting them roam around, do whatever they want without having to live in fear of getting eaten by Whiskers the cat. And Whiskers was fine with this, getting a little extra food and leaving alone Business Bennet and his crew. So that was a smart move by Business Bennet, I think. Business Bennet was not content with just running the office, though. He didn't want to just run the snack game. He had ambitions beyond the break room and the fridge, just getting some crumbs. He actually noticed that there were a lot of neighboring organizations, a lot of neighboring mouse organizations, and some other people trying to copy him and do the same thing to corner the crumb market. But Business Bennet wanted to run this entire office, get all the crumbs and all the cheese, all the snacks to himself. So Bennet didn't just defend his territory, he crushed the competition, and he sent his crew, led by Doug, to basically go, not necessarily attack these other mouse organizations, but take them down. But yeah, Doug and the other members of the crew would basically go over to the other mouse organizations, just sneak in late at night while they were all sleeping and delete all their software and just destroy their computers. So this was really cutthroat and a little bit messed up to destroy their computers. But if you want to be a top mouse, I guess that's what you have to do sometimes, is take down the competition. But they were stealing his idea, so I don't really blame him. Business Bennet did invent Cheddar & Co. Consulting to figure out all the best cheddar spots, all the best crumb spots. So for these other mice to steal his idea and just start trying to siphon off some of the cheese and some of the snacks, that was messed up. Do you guys mess with Business Bennet?